Good morning or evening or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Amy Carr. I'm the Vice President of Recruiting here at Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions. Today, we have some employers that we would like to showcase for you in lots of different great states around the U.S. Please feel free to put where you're from and where you're watching from in the webinar chat today. We'd love to hear where each of you are coming from. And we'll also be sure to take questions at the end. So if you have questions, please put them also in the chat and in the Q&A section. Today, all of the different employers and jobs that we're going to talk about, they do require NCLEX to interview. So these opportunities require for you to have already taken and passed the NCLEX, and they all require at least 1 year of current bedside experience in the specialty that you're interviewing for. Some will require additional experience, but they all will require at least 1 year of current bedside experience in the specialty to interview for. And we get lots of questions about having different experience in your background, and we certainly appreciate that, and that's going to help make you a really well-rounded nurse. But almost all of our employers and all of our hospital employers want to make sure that you're currently working in the specialty that you're interviewing for. Also, all of these opportunities are also direct hire. So every single one of these is a direct hire with each one of these organizations. All of our RNs right now have premium processing, so every single employer will also pay for premium processing. These opportunities are all for an EB-3 visa, which is a green card, and immediate family members can be included on your petition at no extra cost. Each one of these organizations will also provide at least 30 days of temporary housing or a cash equivalent. And we are able to process your petition without having an English exam, which, just a note, make sure that you're taking the right English exam for the state that you get a job in. You don't want to take 2 English exams. And then every one of these will include free airfare to the U.S. for the applicant to the place of your job and reimbursement of visa screen and medical exam. Now, it is possible that there are other great things that are included by each of these by the nature of us helping clients that are direct hire. They each offer different opportunities and different benefits and different pay scales. So sometimes there are other things that are included, but every single person that we're going to talk about today, they're all going to include these things. So the first organization I'd like to talk about today is Intermountain Healthcare, and I think we have a video to play to introduce them. All right. So Intermountain Healthcare, it's a Utah-based hospital system. They have 33 hospitals and growing. They're also, many of the hospitals they have are award-winning. One of the hospitals that we are hiring for, St. Joseph, has received an award of excellence for patient experience in 2021, which I think was a tough year to have really great patient care. And I think throughout their whole system, Intermountain is known for really being concerned about patient care, which I think is one of the concerns that all of our international nurses have when they come to the U.S. Everybody wants to come and work for a great hospital system where they're going to be able to give really great care. They're also known for really using data and innovation to try to continue to change and increase the care they give and the way they manage patient success. So lots of really good things. I think the values of this company are integrity, trust, excellence, accountability, and mutual respect. I think something also important to note as you're choosing where you want to go in the US, this healthcare system really looks for ways to embrace diversity. And all of the people that we work with directly, who are really mostly not the clinical staff, but we work with the talent acquisition and the HR folks, really treat each other and us with dignity and empathy. And I think that's a really great reflection on the organization on itself and all of the people that work there. So some of the positions that we have open are in Utah, Colorado, and there's a handful that are in Montana. And so a lot of the Utah positions that are open are around the Salt Lake City area. And if you've never looked at that area of the US, you should take some time to look at it. Utah is known for being a beautiful state. There's lots of really great mountains. There's lots of outdoor activities. But also, Utah has a really great cost of living. And in fact, within the US, there are many people in the US that are moving to Utah from all over because of, I think, the cost of living, the school safety. So it's a really popular place for people inside the US to move to. And so if you haven't thought about Utah, you should check it out. They do have snow in the winters. Right outside of Salt Lake, there is a ski park and a snowboard park where the Olympics has been held. So lots of really great things to explore. They are hiring for ICU, med-surg, tele, cardiac, home health, surgical, and neuro positions. And we are holding interviews for those Utah openings regularly. For the Colorado hospitals and some in Montana, Colorado and Montana are also lovely places to live. They also have mountain ranges. I think in terms of cost of living, there are some cities in Colorado that can have a higher cost of living. Montana does not have a very high cost of living, but all beautiful. Certainly snow in the winter, but gorgeous summers. And if you love to be outdoors, and if there's any outdoor activities that you love, Intermountain is a fantastic place to look. I think the schools are also considered really, really great in these areas. So in Colorado and some in Montana, they're hiring for med-surg, emergency department, all things tele, ICU, and step down. So there's a lot of really good opportunities with these groups. Here's individual hospitals. So in Colorado, there are 3 hospitals that we're hiring for: St. Joseph Lutheran Medical Center and St. Mary's Hospital. And then there's several hospitals that are in Montana. If you love wide open spaces, or you've ever wanted to have a bunch of land on your own, Montana would be a great place to be able to make those dreams come true. And then here are all of the locations that are in Utah. Intermountain Medical Center, LDS. There's a children's hospital also in Salt Lake, St. George Hospital, and McKay-D Hospital. All of those in the Salt Lake area. All right. So the next employer that we'll talk about, and some of you may be familiar, we've hired a lot of nurses that have landed at Cape Fear Valley, but Cape Fear Valley Health in North Carolina, and let's introduce them with a video.
My name is Misty Michonne. I'm a registered nurse. I started at Cape Fear straight out of college. So I've been at Cape Fear 20 years this year. I've worked in the rehab brain injury unit for 5 of those years, and then I transferred over to labor and delivery where I've been the other 15. One of the things that stands out about Cape Fear Valley is the administration really wants to know the individuals that work under them. I was in the cafeteria line, and our service line director actually walked up behind me and recognized me from the back and was like, "Hi, Misty, how are you? I'm not just a number. I'm an employee. They know my name. They know my family."
All right. So Cape Fear Valley, and like I mentioned, if you, if you have friends that have worked with Worldwide, you may know someone who has worked or is working at Cape Fear Valley Health. We at Worldwide have worked with them since at least 2016, and we have placed hundreds of nurses there. So there's a really great community that exists at Cape Fear Valley of international nurses. They are in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is about an hour and a half drive from the beach. For anyone who's been on any of these webinars before, you know that I am North Carolina's biggest fan. And if you haven't looked at North Carolina, it is one of, in my opinion, is the best, but it's one of the best states in the U.S. to move to. North Carolina has the beach and the mountains and really temperate weather. It's warm in the summer. It's not all that cold in the winter. And we occasionally will see snow, but it's sort of fun and the city stops if it ever happens. Cape Fear Valley is in the eastern part of the state, much closer to the beach than Charlotte, where I am. And Cape Fear Valley has, they really have a small community. It's not a huge hospital system, so it's a great place if you prefer not to work for an enormous system and be able to know most of your colleagues and coworkers. Their mission is to provide exceptional healthcare for all of our patients, and their vision is in every way improving the quality of every life we touch. Currently, and we're going to do interviews for Cape Fear next week. Currently, Cape Fear is hiring for med-surg nurses, ICU, step-down, psych nurses, emergency department, PICU, oncology, acute rehab, and IR and cath. So there's lots of really great opportunities there. They also there's a Cape Fear Valley Medical Center, the main campus. And then there's also Hoke, which is a newer campus that they've built recently, which is beautiful and just a little bit farther out of town. But it's and even in most states in the U.S., if it's not in a big city, it's still around a whole lot of things. So while Fayetteville is not a major city, like everything you need is probably going to be within a 10-minute drive from your house. There's plenty of grocery stores and there's a little mall, and we at Worldwide, or we in the U.S. love a Walmart, which has all the things that you may need. So there's all kinds of things that are accessible, even in a town that's not a huge town. So when you think about like more rural areas, there are some like rural areas, but most places where there's a major hospital, there will be anything that you need for you or your family. Okay, so our last employer today that we're going to talk about is Secours Mercy Health. And let's play that video.
Being a clinician means more than just being in the office and just doing your charts. It's really about being collegial, about knowing the others in your group, sharing of patients and sharing of educational opportunities. And that's what being part of Mercy Health Physicians is.
It's extremely welcoming. The people are fantastic. be able to actually immerse myself into the people and the culture of West Cincinnati has been a very special treat for me.
One of the things that's unique about us in our communities is that we are partners with our community. You're part of schools, you're part of sidelines, you're part of public health. So when you come, expect to not just be in the hospital. Expect to be in your community.
Cincinnati it's almost like a best kept secret.
Oh, I think it's one of the most underrated cities in America, having lived in both LA and New York.
It's certainly a big city with more than 1 million plus people in the greater Cincinnati area, yet it has a very small city feel to it.
It really is a community where you get to know and trust your neighbors.
So I have kids, 11 and 12, and so we're park hoppers. Cincinnati has a ton of parks.
We love going to the river's edge and checking out the sights and sounds of the parks around that area.
Take my kids to the zoo on weekends or to take my kids to the aquarium.
Cincinnati is a great place to raise a family.
The other thing that really impressed us about this city is the caliber of the schools. And I'm even talking about public education, where it's actually nationally ranked.
There's a little bit of everything, whether it's arts, music, restaurants.
Different festivals and fairs and sports events. It's outstanding.
I am particularly involved in the performing arts. Restaurant scene is very important to me here as well.
A lot of major sports teams.
My neighbor actually has a season pass for the FC Cincinnati, and so whenever he wasn't going, I got free tickets to go as well.
There's a little bit of something for everybody.
The biggest perk of Mercy, besides the providers, is the administration. Honestly, anything I need, any issues I have, their door is always open to me.
I can go and knock on the door of my hospital president and walk in and say hello and have a conversation.
There's more flexibility that comes with being a slightly smaller institution, and there's a closeness to the collaboration with administration that really helps to facilitate all of that.
As far as Mercy West is concerned, when I came here, one of the things that really impressed me was the fact that they gave me full permission to tailor my clinical practice to what I thought was going to be best for my patients.
When you think of it, you can do it. We just want to foster that kind of person to be able to have that environment where you can do what you think is the right thing to do, and we're going to help you do that.
The hospital, I think, does a very good job of ensuring that physicians have a good work-life balance.
It says family medicine on the door for a reason. We also value our own time at home with our families, and we respect that time.
Job sharing is something that we've implemented, offering that time for you to take a moment with your family and take that personal time and then come back to work with the understanding and the comfort that your patients are still being cared for by that individual you're partnering with in that job share.
There's a stress on both physical and mental health.
The Health Flex, they provide childcare. They have every single thing. They have swimming, basketball, racquetball, weights. They have an indoor track. Anything and everything you could need. It is literally right across the street.
The folks that we endeavor to attract could go anywhere they want to. And they choose here because of the variety, because of the people, and because of the opportunity.
I've really been touched and felt very much supported by folks here.
People that I've worked with and that I'm working with day to day has really made my professional life really enjoyable, and it's made it a really nice place to work, and in turn that's made it a really nice place to live.
I can honestly say that this has probably been the best experience in a hospital that I've ever had.
All right. So Bon Secours Mercy Health is it's one of next slide here. It's one of the largest Catholic health systems in the U.S. Bon Secours and Mercy Health were at one point separate hospital systems, and they merged together. They operate in 7 states, and they have more than 50 hospitals. Some of the hospitals carry the Bon Secours name, and some of them carry the Mercy Health name, but together they have the whole brand. This is one of those systems where there's lots of opportunity to move around in this system and to move up. They're all broken into regions, and in fact, most of the people that we work with have been working with Bon Secours Mercy Health for quite some time. A lot of the leaders who we work with today started as RNs and moved up into different roles. They are very concerned about patient care and the health outcomes. They've received awards for all kinds of things, many around patient safety, but also awards around workplace culture and sustainability efforts, which I think are all things that are really important. Their values are human dignity, integrity, compassion, stewardship, which I love this. Stewardship is being committed to promote the responsible use of all human and financial resources, including Earth itself. I think that's really neat. And service. They do, as a Catholic healthcare system, they do consider everything that they do a ministry, and so there's a piece of service and dedication that really goes along with everything in this healthcare system. Today, we are hiring 4 locations in Ohio and in Kentucky. So these are the current openings. In Ohio, we're hiring in Youngstown, Cincinnati, and Springfield for step-down ICU and med-surg nurses. And then in Kentucky, we're hiring for med-surg nurses. Just a couple of things. If you haven't thought about living in Ohio and Kentucky, Ohio is known for being a really affordable state. The cost of living there is very affordable. And it also is, in Kentucky too, in the Midwest, known for being very, very friendly. Kentucky also has like really affordable living and really friendly places. There's lots of people who live in the Midwest who cross over in between states like Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia. There's a lot of ability to drive and see things that are in all of those states. Both Ohio and Kentucky have really great sports culture. Kentucky has a lot of college teams and like some really big college fun rivalries. My very best friend actually lives in Kentucky today, and she has her kids in school there, and they moved there from North Carolina and have found a great network of friends and people that they didn't know at all before they moved, and they found it very easy to be newcomers in Kentucky. So I think that's something that's you can find in both Ohio and Kentucky. Ohio also has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so that's fun. And Ohio has some professional sports teams with some pretty passionate fans that follow them. And then in Kentucky, there's also the Kentucky Derby, which is a famous horse race that happens every year. And Kentucky is also known for their bourbon. And many people across the U.S. will take a trip to Kentucky to go down the bourbon trail. There's lots of distilleries and places to find unique and hard to find bourbon. So super interesting facts about Ohio and Kentucky. Also, I wanted to just mention before we leave talking specifically about these, someone had a question about the English exams, and I think specifically PTE. IELTS and TOEFL are accepted in all of the states that we've talked about today. The PTE is accepted in Ohio and Kentucky, and visa screens for endorsement are accepted in North Carolina, Colorado, and Montana. So the only place the PT is not accepted is in Utah. So for any of the other states we've talked about today, if you have taken the PTE, then you should be okay. You obviously have to meet the the requirement for the visa screen. So that's important. So I saw that question. And just to note, always a great idea to wait to take your English exam until you have a job offer, because it is so important that you don't take 2. And then I'm going to, before we open it up to all the questions, I'm just going to go back for people who didn't have a chance to see this at the beginning. I think there are some questions about what are the requirements to work in these positions. And so here are the requirements. So, and I would say for every hospital, for every single hospital that we have, every one of our clients, you have to have already taken and passed the NCLEX. That's number one. And then you also need to have at least 1 year of current bedside experience. All the hospitals require current bedside experience. So it's super, super important and helpful to find a spot in bedside. And quite honestly, the better your experience, the better you're going to be able to, the better the offer you're going to be able to get, and the better hospital that you can work in. If you have questions about your specific experience, we'd be happy to have a recruiter connect you. If you already have a recruiter, please reach out to them. If you don't yet have a recruiter, I'll go back over here so you can have the link to apply, because we'd be so happy to connect you to a recruiter that can help answer specific questions. But I think today almost all employers require current bedside, or if you're not working in bedside at this time, immediate plans to go back into bedside. You can also chat with a live recruiter right now. CJ also put that in the chat. So CJ, let's open it up to any questions that we have.
Okay, yeah. So like a lot of questions from the chat have been answered, like about the PTE and other stuff. So here's a question from Jacqueline. And the question is, do you hire nurses with 6 years work gap?
I think it's really hard. I think it's really hard to find a position with a 6-year work gap. If you have plans to go back into bedside, then we can absolutely help. But I think one, most of the time employers that are hiring international nurses are looking for a way to build their experienced nurse pool in their hospital and facility. There have been lots of, like everywhere in the world, but in the US also lots of people retired during COVID. And so if you're not currently working and you have a big gap, most employers are not interested in talking to you. So I think really focusing on getting back in bedside to get a really good interview is important. And I think too, for you in your transition to the US, having those really strong bedside skills is important, because there's going to be a lot of things that are different, and there's going to be a lot of pieces of transition. And being confident and having your nursing skills in a really good place for you to transition at work so that you don't have to worry about learning everything all over again is really something that will help your overall transition and your success in the US and at your new job. So I would say we don't have any hospital employers today that will interview anyone who's not currently working.
Okay, cool. And yeah, just a follow up for that question. Here's a question from Allison. So how about community nurse experience? Does it count to be like just that's a bedside experience or no?
I think for some employers that would be okay. I think for hospital employers, if you want to interview at a hospital employer wants you to be working in a hospital. If you are open to interview at at a different sort of facility, perhaps acute rehab or long-term care, then other kinds of experience will absolutely work. I've seen folks be eligible to interview that are working on a cruise ship or as a community nurse or a freestanding facility. All of those things would absolutely be fine, but not to interview for a hospital setting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. Next question is from Bo, and he's asking if, will you reimburse the cost of visa screen and IELTS?
So visa screen will absolutely get reimbursed for each nurse. That happens once you begin working. The IELTS exam is reimbursed by some employers, but not all. I don't believe that any of these employers will reimburse for an English exam.
All right, cool. And here's a question about the retrogression from Christine. And she's asking, now that there is a retrogression, will it take too long for us to start working in the US?
Yeah, great question. And I would encourage you, we've done a couple of webinars. Ron Hoppy has partnered with some of the really big immigration law firms to do webinars on retrogression. And they are certainly the experts, and you are welcome to go on over to our YouTube page and watch those. But in short, today, the retrogression dates don't seem to be causing a huge delay. What we are seeing right now is that it's still taking between 12 to 18 months for nurses to arrive in the US from the time that their petition is filed. Now, you all know as much as I do that the visa bulletin changes every month. So that is based on the most current visa bulletin that's out, which is June.
Okay. Next question is from Catherine. And so she's asking about like the benefits. Do you have medical or dental insurance included on the packages?
Yeah, so because this is direct hire, each benefit package is specific to the hospital and the employer. But every single employer they have medical insurance, dental insurance. Almost every one of them has a 401k. There's always paid time off, and some of them have even education benefits and all kinds of things.
Okay, awesome. And here's an interesting question from Stephanie. And she said, I have a bedside experience 3 years ago, and I'm currently working in a hospital as a nurse, but I am assigned in the disease surveillance unit. Are there still employers or hospitals that hires nurses like me?
Yeah, I would say that would be a really great question to chat with your recruiter about. Like once they can see your resume and your background, and they'll be able to better answer that question. I'm sure if you are currently working as a nurse, in some capacity, we absolutely have an employer who'd be willing to talk to you. But I think, which employer, what's the right opportunity? That's a really great question, a really great conversation to have with your employer or with your recruiter.
All right, awesome. And here's another question from Jeneline. Among these hospitals, which provides full health insurance coverage starting from day one?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that. I will say, it is common in the U.S. for health coverage to start after 30 days or 60 days. And so I'm not sure exactly which one of those, which hospital starts it at day one, but that would be a great question for your recruiter. We have the benefits packages for most of these hospitals that we can share with you as well.
All right, awesome. So I'm checking the last question for today's webinar. And if you have other questions, our live recruiters are always online 24/7. So I just pasted the link a while ago. So, and that's also in the pinned message on top. Just go to that link and ask questions to our live recruiters. So our last question, let me just see here. So this one, let's move to another question. All right, so this is from Maria Eliza. So the question is, how about OPD nursing experience? Is that considered to be like a bedside experience for me to apply in these opportunities?
Did you say OPD?
OPD, yeah.
I think for most hospitals, I think what they are looking for is they're looking for in-person bedside experience. And if you want to interview for a med surg position, that you currently are working in a med surg position. If you want to interview for an ER position, then you would be working in an ER currently. If you're open to working outside of a hospital, then I think that absolutely we have an employer that would consider interviewing you with that experience.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's it for our Q&A. And yeah, as I said a while ago, if you have more questions, just chat with our live recruiter. So I will paste now the link in the chat. And also for those who's asking about the retrogression, here's the recent webinar that we have with Ron Hoppy and Mike Hammond. So this is a retrogression update. I will also put that on the chat. And yeah, like us on Facebook so that you will be always updated with the latest news. And we are having our worldwide tour because of our 25 years anniversary. And I think on the 8th and 9th of June, we will be on Durban, South Africa. And yeah, and also we are always have this refer a nurse program. I will also paste the link on the chat. So if you have a nurse friend with NCLEX, refer them to us, and we will give you like $250 for every nurse that you will send to us. Yep. And I think that's all, Amy.
Yep, that's it. I think lastly, if you don't have a recruiter and you haven't applied yet, please go online to our website at HealthStaff and apply. We'd love to help you. I see there's comments about people being interested in some of the specific opportunities we talked about today. Please get in touch with your recruiter or apply so we can get you in touch with a recruiter, because we would love to help you with the next interviews that we have coming up. I think that's it. Thank you, CJ. Thank you to everyone who attended today. We wish you the very best in your journey to the U.S., and we look forward to helping you. Have a good rest of your day or night, depending on where you are.